Welcome in, everybody, to the championship night for Dega Pro's new series, Friday Night Rush Hour. The first season comes to a conclusion here tonight, and we're going to go ahead. There's a little bit of a quick turnover into the grid right now, so we're going to go ahead and pull up the grid for you tonight. John Ward will be starting from the pole position, and as you'll notice, he has a little C next to his name. He is one of the 4 championship drivers tonight. They are signified by a C in parentheses next to their name. On this leaderboard and the grid and everywhere else, you'll see their names tonight. Wyatt Gray will be starting to John Ward's outside in second. Matthew Baker, another championship contender, in third for NBG. Matt Lee will be fourth. Nathan Harper will be fifth. Kenny McCullough sixth. Brian Henning seventh. Sean Corbett in eighth. James Waring ninth, and Terry Wilson will start in 10th. Joshua McCullough will be starting 11th. Ambrose Knable will be starting 12th. 13th place will be Travis Jones, and 14th will be Michael Wingo. This is an extremely light field here tonight for this championship race. It is going to be 50 laps. We'll go ahead and pull that up next. Here we go. In the next-gen cars, as you can see here at Talladega, 50 laps, 40% fuel, unlimited tires, no fast repair, fixed setups, and 3 green-white checkers should we need them. But considering how light tonight's field is, I doubt that we're really going to be needing those 3 green-white checkers. I would not be surprised at all if this race runs green. And honestly, that's kind of the hope that is what will happen tonight, considering how light the field is. There's everyone leaving the grid now. Only 14 cars in this race. That is a little disappointing for a championship event, but if we're going to look at some of these drivers on the grid right now, I think, at least in terms of teammates, I think Matthew Baker definitely has the edge over quite a few people right now, considering the teammates he has in there. He has Wyatt Gray and Nathan Harper, which is only 2 of them, because apparently Matt Lee, some breaking news of silly season, I guess you could call it, in money racing, Matt T. Lee is no longer a part of NBG. He has left that team. So now he's just kind of riding solo, I guess, in this race. Trying to see who he'd be running with. Apparently, nobody. He's not sitting in Discord. Oh, yeah, he's actually running with John Ward in this race. So Matt Lee's going to be trying to help John Ward win this race. Matthew Baker's going to have his teammates Harper and Gray. I do not see any teammates for Brian Henning. I believe he's going to be alone tonight. And then you have Joshua McCullough, who will have his teammate and father, Kenny McCullough, helping him out throughout this race. And the rest of these guys are going to be out here for a payout. Normal kind of race payout. There are also payouts for the championship drivers. I'm going to go ahead and read those off to you now. Preliminarily, at least, the 4 championship drivers will receive $135 for first for winning the championship, $130 for second, $125 for third, and $110 for fourth. That obviously somewhat depends on the amount of drivers we got tonight, so that might come down a little bit. The race payouts are as usual, 120, 110, 150, 40, 30, 20, top 7. So half the field is going to get a payout here tonight. Now, that's definitely going to be unique watching this race and see how that works out, because that rarely ever happens in money racing. But the field is approaching the green flag now. John Ward and Wyatt Gray leading them into the restart box. And here we go. We are racing at Talladega. Coming to complete lap number 1, John Ward with the edge over Wyatt Gray on the bottom side of the racetrack. Matt Lee giving a terrific push to John Ward at that outside line. They have no help up there right now, and that is a definite problem for them. But look at the surge on the bottom. Wyatt Gray, Matt Baker, Nathan Harper might get a look at being clear, maybe not. They're just going to ride on the bottom side. They don't want to go up. They're just going to try and single file this thing out. And it looks like that's probably what's going to happen. Kenny McCullough, unfortunately, not going to get a look at getting in line just yet. Now he will in front of Sean Corbett. And now I expect a single file parade until we get to pit stops at least. And then we'll see how those end up. And I will point out there's a couple drivers here that have already lost the draft after one lap. As you see, Josh McCullough, here he is, 10th on the leaderboard, 10th also in this lead pack. Behind him, here's Travis Jones, Michael Wingo, Ambrose Knable, and Terry Wilson that are battling each other right now, and they're already 5 seconds off the leaders. Tough break for these guys, and it's too far gone at this point. They're going to need some sort of adversity to happen at the lead of this thing for them to be back in this race and back in contention. But right now, it's all NBG on the bottom side. Gray, Baker, Harper. The top three. John Ward keeps peeking out there, maybe trying to get Matt Lee to go with him. Just going to sit back in line for now. Brian Hennings. There he is in the 4th position. Currently 2nd out of the championship contenders. Third is Ward in that group, and then Joshua McCullough in 10th. The last, currently, of our 4 championship contenders. Just a single file train. I would imagine we're going to see pit stops around, I want to say like 18 laps in to a run is going to be what a full fuel tank will be for tonight. 40% full, as we know. So I believe that's what it has been for the majority of these races. So hopefully we'll be seeing those somewhere around the 20 lap to go mark. I'll give myself a little leeway on that, but I do fear that this is what we're going to be seeing for most of this race, is single file riding just to log some laps here. Which, you know, it's a great thing. It's a good strategy. You know, you want to just kind of ride where you're at. I mean, there's no point racing. There's only 14 guys in the race, 4 of which are 8 seconds behind the field now. So you would be racing for literally nothing right now if you were to try and make a move. But what this is going to mean for the leaders of this race, especially Wyatt Gray, he's obviously going to be out there using the most fuel of anybody out there on the racetrack. He's the leader. He's pushing through the air more than anybody else, fighting against that, and obviously he's going to be full throttle, most likely, at the front of this thing. Which means, in theory, Baker and Harper are going to pit whenever Wyatt Gray needs to come in and pit, so they can stick together and stick with their team. Everyone that's riding in the back right now, which, and this is no surprise, we usually do see this out of Kenny and Josh McCullough. They like to sit back at the beginning of these races. They want to sit back, save fuel, and avoid chaos, and they are definitely 2 of the best when it comes to doing that, especially Kenny McCullough, one of the most patient drivers we have in money racing. There he is in the number 03 for McCullough Motorsports, the captain himself of McCullough Motorsports. Son Josh behind him. Just riding around, you know, just riding around, saving time, log some laps. It's only lap 7. Just make sure you get through your pit stops clean, and if you do, then you will still have a very good shot at winning this race. There's like Sean Corbett as well. And number 45 for the newly formed team, Dega Pros team, which obviously we know Dega Pros is the series itself. It is now also a team ran by John Ward. We'll get a look at him. There he is. Yellow, blue, and red, number 92. Hyper Motorsports folded, I want to say about a month ago, maybe a little bit more than that. That was obviously the team that had John Ward as its head. You had Heath Job. You had Sean Corbett, Steve Sizemore. A few different guys. And that team folded, as I said. And John Ward split off to make a new team based around his series and wanted to pick up some guys that he knows can race and guys he wants to race with. For example, Sean Corbett. I know Matthew Patton is another one. Someone that, I believe, Matt Pat, that's what everyone likes to call him, Matt Pat. He's pretty solid. He just needs a good group of guys to run with, and I think he might have finally found that with running with John Ward and the new Talladega Pros team. There's Matt Lee behind him. That number 04 still has an NBG paint scheme on it, but as we know, he's no longer affiliated with that team. And it might be to his detriment right now because his now former team is 1, 2, 3 in this race. Wyatt Gray, Matthew Baker, and Nathan Harper. Just controlling this thing so far. Not really having to do much in terms of protecting and controlling lanes or anything of that matter. But, well, hold on. They're starting to break away right here. Just a little bit. Brian Hennings is all up Nathan Harper's bumper, just like Nathan Harper did to me last night on the last lap of the PGR race, shoving me offset and turning me on the backstretch. Brian Hennings almost did the same thing, almost gave Nathan a little taste of his own medicine, something I probably need to give back to Nathan. But he's backed off now, and the rest of the pack is caught back up. Now Brian's starting to fall off. Nathan Harper's shoving Matt Baker right now. I'm confused at what we're trying to achieve here. I mean, I would assume you see them as tight packed together like that they're trying to break away from the field, but I just don't see that happening when you have the likes of John Ward and Matt Lee as the leader and the lead pusher. They could surely catch back up. And they're still well within draft range, and they've got 5 cars behind them to help as well. But there's still a little bit of a break right there. Here comes John Ward. Look at the run he has with Matt Lee on the bottom. There's Baker in the 5 going to grab some temps. Sean Corbett. I'll take that back. This was a 10-car pack. Sean Corbett's lost it now. It's in the process of losing it. He's completely lost it. Tough for Sean. I'm not sure how that happened. Maybe too much of a lift when a checkup happened, and the way these cars are, the way they operate aerodynamically, you can't really do that. And sure enough, he's now 3 seconds behind, and he will get swept up by this pack back here. Travis Jones, Michael Wingo, Ambrose Knable, and Terry Wilson. Now, Terry Wilson has recently lost this pack as well, so could be dealing with some lap traffic later on. I mean, this group, it's crazy. In 12 laps, they are almost nigh on 17 seconds behind the leaders right now. That's a crazy number this early on in the race. But they will get a little bit more help in the form of Sean Corbett. You can just see Corbett, that little number next to him, getting greater and greater and greater. He will get swept up by that second group. You would imagine, should he be able to stick on to it, I imagine they'd want to try and pick him up and keep their pace going forward, especially now that they've lost Terry Wilson, so they want to have another 4th car in their pack. But again, 13 laps in, you're almost 18 seconds out. They need a yellow flag. It's not impossible, but it's almost not possible for them to come back at this rate. And we're watching the front, and it's still the same story at the front. Not much else going on. It's now a 9-car pack. Now, I will say, there's people that could look at this sort of racing, especially when we have a very light field, and consider it boring. And yeah, it can be in a way. But the thing that I like to watch in these races, when you have the next gen and the Gen 6 cars like that, is watching kind of how the chess pieces move and how that all unfolds, which that happens every night. It's a nightly basis for us in money racing. But for example, this car is very numbers based, very heavy on numbers. watching some guys drop off the pack, that's going to alter their energy in their pack, and that car's going to go get picked up by someone else, and it's just a unique thing to kind of watch. And while we were talking about that, we now have pit stops, actually. John Ward and Matt Lee made a move around Brian Hennings, and here comes everybody coming into pit. I did notice on the leaderboard when I was in my monologue that Ambrose Knebel, Michael Wingo, and Travis Jones did also come in to pit the lap prior to this. There's everyone rolling in. Taking some left side tires on their machines. Sean Corbett as well coming in this time. You see him in the back. What a poor pit stop for Wyatt Gray. Goodness gracious, he came in the leader. And now he's completely dead last in this pack, and he might be in danger of losing the pack. Let's go up a little bit further. So James Ware and Kenny McCullough as well. Look at this group. Well organized up here. Baker, Harper, Josh McCullough. Terrific pit stop by Joshua McCullough. Has now cycled his way to third. Then you have Matt Lee, Brian Hennings, and John Ward. So these guys are going to group up. They see Baker and Harper tandeming away a little bit, but they're going to be quickly caught by Josh McCullough and Matt Lee. And then they're going to ride in the line. And so this is what I was trying to say about watching the numbers move around when you have these sorts of races, when you go through pit stops and everything. We had a 10-car pack. Well, I guess I should say we had a 14-car pack at the beginning of the race that quickly turned into a 10-car pack, then turned into a 9-car pack, and then after a pit stop, now we're down to 6 in the lead pack. Kenny McCullough and James Waring are together. They've left Wyatt Gray. He's all by himself. That is going to hurt Matthew Baker's efforts here tonight without a yellow flag, unless Gray goes a few laps down or whatever and then decides he's just going to go up there and race for Baker and try and help him continue on in the race. But a couple guys actually not returning off of pit road. This is Travis Jones in his pit box. Not sure what went on with him. He's multiple laps down still in the pit box. There's Terry Wilson, who is now a lap down as well. Michael Wingo listed as the last car on the lead lap. There he is with Ambrose Knebel in the 04. And again, this was a 4-car pack that turned to a 3, then a 4, and now it's a 2. So it's just kind of interesting to me, and maybe some of y'all out there as well, how these numbers move around in next-gen races and how the packs get oriented and everything like that. It's a unique little car. Sometimes it's very fun, like we had last night for the PGR Intimidator Superspeedway series at Atlanta, which is a terrific racetrack as is, but in this car, it obviously is a different way of racing there, but it's still fun. And even with the update that neutered these cars, it's still possible to have a good bit of fun on tracks that are narrower and not as wide. Now, that's kind of the problem that we run into with Talladega. So the next gens, before the update, we obviously don't know how they raced, watching the PGR 500 and everything. Thrilling races, crazy runs, everything like that. Well, then they updated them and made them slow. Not slow, but a little slower. Altered the aerodynamics around them a little bit and honestly kind of hurt the racing in the next-gen cars. Well, it's still manageable at tracks like Atlanta and Daytona. Especially Atlanta, obviously a very narrow racetrack. It's a 1.5 miles after all. But then you have Daytona, which is, all things considered, it is a very narrow racetrack. When you have pack racing in cars like this and you're 3-4 wide, that track gets very narrow very quick. But then you're here at Talladega, which is very wide. And that changes the dynamic of how this car runs as well, considering all the aerodynamics involved with it and everything. It's a And it's just an odd car to try and race, and honestly what it results in a lot of the times is this. And we saw this on Tuesday night as well in the RMR race where we ran the next gens at Daytona, and we had really good racing, and then we had pit stops, and then the rest of the race was single file. So going into this is definitely what we expected to see with such a light field. If there was a larger field, for example, one that we had last night, then, you know, obviously the racing is going to be a little bit more exciting to watch. The more passes being made, more runs, and everything of that nature. And we were honestly, all we're seeing right now, in terms of what even resembles racing, is, or at least attempted passes, I should say, is Nathan Harper and Matt Baker keep ducking out of each other's way so Harper can get air. And then you have Matt Lee trying to make some sort of moves in the back. We're stacking up, actually, in turn one. I got excited for a second. But they sorted that out, and we're still just going to be single file. Now, I hear lap traffic approaching, actually, for these guys. Sure enough, there's Ambrose Knable and Michael Wingo. Still drafting together, 42, now 43 seconds behind the leader of the race, Matthew Baker. They're going to pick up Travis Jones, who's 2 laps down. There he is, in that Adam Petty, I guess it's really a Kyle Petty, number 45 sprint paint scheme. Maybe Adam Petty as well, kind of mixing up my memory. And Ambrose is going to choose to go around Travis. So will Michael Wingo. He's going to stick with Ambrose. See, Travis is now going to try and get in line with these guys. Hopefully he'll be able to pick on to their draft. And here are the leaders of the race, Baker, Harper, McCullough, Lee, Hennings, and Ward coming out of turn 2. I'm just reading through the chat now. Yes, Danny, I do have a way of looking at the chat. I will point that out. It's a little bit difficult for me to do that. I only have 2 monitors, one of which is what y'all are seeing right now. The other one is all the technical side of producing the race. So I kind of have to have my phone over to my left and look at the chat that way. So believe me, I do try my hardest to read y'all's chats, and we obviously appreciate y'all joining into the chat, being a part of the race. Yeah, OMG. I know, Danny, I know. It's shocking, right? I do try to do it. I swear to you. It's just kind of hard the way everything's positioned for me right now to check on that. So I'm trying to work on a way to get it better, try and do a little bit of reorganizing, and maybe even get a 3rd monitor or something so I can have it a little bit easier that way. But we're working on it. It's a work in progress. So I do, believe me, all of y'all out there, I keep hearing it all the time that I don't check chat. I do. I try my best. I promise you I try my best. And, I mean, what better time than now in a race like this that, as Danny, you just said, follow the leader, basically. Yeah, I mean, essentially that's what it is. Than to read through the chat right now. So I guess we'll just go ahead and do that. The question, why is Baker showing in the pits? So that is just... Oh, wait a second. We've got a problem. That's odd. I just read that message and then saw a bumper flying and cars moving around everywhere. Let's go back. I wonder if something happened between Wingo and Jones. Sure enough, they're on the apron, and Wingo has a very damaged race car. I mean, his night's done. His right front wheel's not even moving. And Travis Jones is following him into the pits. Oh, we need to... Let's go back. We're going to have to manually go back on this and see what just happened to these guys. Oh, my. Okay, so as the leaders are approaching them, Michael... Okay, loose out of the corner and then it gets hooked by Jones. What a hard hit for Wingo. Let's go back, actually, and get a better view of that really quickly and just see what started it. So, I mean, they're fine, riding in a line right here. Ooh, okay, so Wingo was riding a little bit high, maybe trying to grab some temps. And then Travis Jones went to connect back to Wingo in a very awkward part of the corner. And that ends up turning Michael Wingo around on the back straightaway. Right in front of the leaders of the race, too. That's just wild. Oh, goodness. You really see the hook that just happened. From there, let's back it up again. I want to go to a cockpit view of Matthew Baker when this was going on. You see the leaders up there. This is how close it was. I guess it's not that close, but you know, you're leader of the race, and you don't want to see something like that happen in front of you. They're going around it, all good, thankfully, but yeah, back on board with them, and we're gonna go to the TV cam, and nothing's changed. There's still just 6 cars, single file at the front, and now we're going to be down 2 more cars in this race. We're going to be down Travis Jones, and we're going to be down Michael Wingo. And the person that really sucks for is Ambrose Knable. He had help with him, and then the help crashed, and now Ambrose, there he is all by himself now, just riding around 1 lap down. Now, granted, should a yellow flag come out, he's currently in the position to grab the lucky dog, but here come the leaders rapidly approaching. Wyatt Gray and Sean Corbett and Terry Wilson, but Wilson would be going a 2nd lap down. Gray and Corbett are now going to become, when the leaders do catch them. See, they're entering 1, and then here comes the leaders entering turn 1 now. So they're going to catch them, and now those 2 will be the first 2 cars a lap down. They'll be, you would think, battling, trying to get the edge over the other for that lucky dog if a caution does come out, but the problem is that they can't do that. There's really no realistic way for them to do that, because if they start battling, they get side by side, they're just going to side draft themselves away from this lead pack. And then we'll end up in the clutches of Ambrose Knable. So it's tough, because it's almost like a lose-lose situation, but now we have more pit stops. Something interesting, everybody. Look at everyone coming in. Ooh, Brian almost missing it. I hope he made it in with a safe speed. It didn't look like he was speeding. It looked like he made it. Just took a little trip through the grass real quick. Everyone coming in to receive service. And we saw that it was, what was it about? I mean, 13, 14, 15 laps on a run. There's Ambrose Knable, a few others in the back coming to receive service, but some shuffling going on here as well. Harper, Josh McCullough, and Matt Baker have kind of gotten away from John Ward and Brian Hennings, and Matt Lee. Matt might be in a tough spot here. I don't know if he's going to be able to suck back up, but look at the gap for John Ward and Brian Hennings to the top 3 of the race. Of Harper, McCullough, and Baker, they're over a second behind, and I wonder if they're trying to drag back to Matt. That's got to be what they're doing, considering how much time they're losing right now. So they can have a 3rd car, and now we have the lead pack got split up again, and it's just 2 guys, 3 guys, I should say, that are now the lead pack of this race. Harper, Joshua McCullough, and Matthew Baker. And then you have John Ward, Brian Hennings, and now Matt Lee, all together in this 2nd little pack. Let's go back a little bit more. Here's Kenny McCullough, currently 7th on the racetrack, but he is 25 seconds behind the leaders of the race. James Waring is behind him in 8th place. And then if we go back 48 seconds behind the leader, we'll find Wyatt Gray and Sean Corbett, who still haven't been lapped yet by the leaders. They're moving up high for the leaders to pass them, so Ambrose Knable now will not be the lucky dog if for some reason a yellow flag flew. Leaders are easily going to pass the 71 and the 45. You see right there, Wyatt's going to hop right back down in front of Matthew Baker, and that right there is exactly what Matt Baker wanted to see. Now he has his third teammate up there with him in this lead pack. Harper, his other one, leading the race. And Josh McCullough's in no man's land for this championship right now. Just absolutely middle of no man's land. His only realistic help in this now is going to be Sean Corbett in the 45 if it comes down to it. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're still going to have another pit stop, maybe even two. I want to say there should probably only be one more pit stop after this, but I guess we'll find out. Here's this other pack who ever so slightly gaining on this group, but now they've kind of lost their power in numbers, considering the lead pack just caught up two lap cars, that have now latched onto the back of their pack. So they have 5 versus Warren Hennings and Lee's 3. And that might be the nail in the coffin for these guys as well, at least for a win tonight. Or for John Ward's and Brian Hennings' championship chances tonight. They're going to be desperately wanting the yellow flag to come out. So, at this point in the race, 19 laps to go, coming to 18. Half the field is either out or a lap down. We have one person out. We have 2 in the pits, now 1 in the pits. Michael Wingo, whose race is essentially over. Terry Wilson, James Waring are 2 laps down. James Waring, it appears, had a pit road penalty on his pit stop, so those 2 are now 2 laps down. Then you have Knable, Corbett, and Gray, all 1 lap down in the race, with Wyatt Gray currently holding the lucky dog position. Kenny McCullough will be the next to go 1 lap down. He's losing time. I'm assuming he's picked up some help here. Sure enough, he has. Ambrose Knable. Because if Kenny was by himself, we'd see that number getting larger at a way greater pace than it is. He has Ambrose with him. And that's going to help him a little bit in terms of his pace. But, again, now 34 seconds behind. Most likely going to get caught before the end of this race by the leaders. This lead pack, which is 5 cars, only 3 of which are on the lead lap and happen to be the 3 top guys in the race so far. So now, let's go back before the pit stops happened. It was... I believe that's actually Casey Sprinkle asking. Why does it say Baker's in the pit? Okay. It said that earlier. Now you notice it doesn't say that for Harper. That is a weird little glitch in the SDK. That is the production kind of application that we use to produce and broadcast races on PGR. It, for some reason, does that sometimes. It says that he's in the pit, but that he's obviously not in the pit. I guess it's a way of trying to find a word for, like, okay, that's the leader and this is how far everyone else is behind him. I'm not sure how that is. That's just how that goes. All right, let's catch back up. There are a couple guys wanting that to be a yellow flag when Michael Wingo crashed. Yeah, obviously for entertainment's sake, we would have wanted that to be a yellow flag. It was not. Obviously, it was only 1 car involved, directly involved, and they did keep it straight, and the rules involving that are pretty ambiguous at best when it comes to like what qualifies as a caution. Like, is it 3 cars? Is it 2 cars? But is it 3 cars spinning? 3 cars involved? 2 cars involved? It seems to vary from series to series. So obviously, I mean that was really only 1 car that took damage, and that yellow flag ain't gonna fly for that. Unfortunately, there's Baker's mom in chat. I believe she'll be happy right now because her son basically has this locked up. We got a couple of y'all talking about the SSK race after this. Sure enough, yes, directly after this race will be race number 1 broadcasted by Michael Triscaro on PGR eSports. Race number 1 for Super Speedway Kings of the Night. The second race after that will be broadcasted once again by our friends at Ninth Gear Broadcasting. They will be taking the second race for that here tonight. Hey, Buddy Waters in the chat. Nice to see you here. I'm sure we'll be seeing you tonight as well in the SSK races. Casey now saying Josh is screwed. Yeah, he is. That's what Josh has no help up here whatsoever. Right? All the help is in the favor of Matthew Baker in the number 5 right now. But again, that's like in theory what you would expect. You expect that Matthew Baker's basically got this in the bag, right? Not necessarily. This is money racing after all, and the things that seem impossible often become possible and aren't even uncommon when that happens. So I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see. But I do highly doubt that anything too crazy is going to happen. I believe Matthew Baker will end up winning this race. Demaray saying Corbett will go with Josh. Yeah, I mean that's what I expect too. Obviously, Baker's teammates of Harper and Gray, they're going to be with him. And again, the power and numbers thing, that's 3 versus 2 when Corbett does go with Josh. Corbett will go with Josh, I would imagine. Now, what's going to be kind of interesting here, I guess, this could build up to be something interesting. Just looking at the leaderboard, Kenny McCullough, there he is, still with Ambrose, is now 42 seconds behind. The leaders will catch him and Ambrose before this thing is over. That adds a number in Josh's favor. That would make it basically a 3v3 coming to the end of this race. And granted, yes, Devin, that is if Kenny does actually latch onto the back of this lead pack as efficiently as Wyatt and Corbett did. Now, what is playing in Kenny's favor is that here he is. He has 3 cars with him, so it's not like he's by himself. And then, even if he makes the perfect move to move down the racetrack and get in with the leaders, his pace is still not going to be enough to overcome that. Would probably lose the draft anyway. He has sufficient pace right now. He has 3 cars with him, or two with him, 3 in his little pack. I think Kenny should be A-okay getting in with these leaders when that time ends up coming. Here they are in turn 1, and then here's the rest of the leaders coming in turn 1 now. So they're going to be catching them. My question is, what's going to happen? I wonder if Baker and Harper and Gray, I wonder if they see this. They see this and know that, okay, well, that's now someone that's going to go with Josh. Maybe they try to short pit this. If they do, I think that's, in all likelihood, a winning play, as long as they execute the pit stop properly. I believe that will be the winning play for Matthew Baker and Harper and Gray if they did a short pit, because that would leave Josh with essentially nobody until Corbett gets to him. Wait, hold up, timeout. Oh, Corbett is now pitting by himself, and now it just keeps getting worse for Josh McCullough, because the only shot he had at a push, help, or anything in that lead pack is now pit by himself. We see behind that, John Ward, Matt Lee, and Brian Hennings have come into pit as well. A little bit of a strategy play. They decided, let's jump the gun and short pit this and see if we can make something happen with it. But this group of 4 so organized now. I mean, that's not really going to make up that much of a difference, I wouldn't imagine, for Ward, Lee, and Hennings to short pit this. And I would assume that this group is now going to come in and pit this time. I would assume, unless their pace is too great for it, and they think their pace is sufficient, they're going to stay out a couple more laps. Devin asking if they have a stop left. Well, yeah, they do. They definitely do. It's just now up to when they want to take it. They obviously didn't want to take it that time. And we know how Josh McCullough is. I wonder if he's going to try and cause some chaos here. Who knows when it comes to Josh? He knows what he's doing, and he's not one to shy away from a little bit of controversy. And I'm sure he wants to win this championship. He doesn't really have a choice. Oh, he's peeling off to pit, and so will Baker, Harper, and Gray. Okay, so they're going to go with Josh here. Oh, Gray might miss because Terry Wilson's doing 3 miles an hour entering the pits. And Kenny pits with this group to try and line up with Josh. Okay, so now you see how the games are kind of played. Kenny pits with this group. He's going to try and time it to where he can pick Josh up. And it will, in all likelihood, be a 3 versus 2. Again, the 3 guys of NBG with everyone else. And there it is. Kenny got a good stop. Riding really low down there. He needs to try and find a spot in line. And Harper's not going to give it to him. So Josh is going to let him up. Baker is going to play nice behind them. He didn't give Josh a shove to try and avoid Kenny getting up front. But okay, so again, as of now, Josh McCullough would be the champion if it ended right now. The problem... Well, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of hard to say. I'm just trying to think through what every possible scenario towards the end of this. There's Gray, who is not the leader of the race. The leader is Nathan Harper. And this group is catching back up. What will Kenny and Josh do? Are they going to ride in line? They will not. Kenny's going to move up. Try and get in line with Josh, maybe? I'm not sure. He's going to go back to Baker. Okay. He's going to try and push... Is he... I'm sorry, I know this is by no means like award-winning commentary right now, but what I'm just thinking about through my head. Interesting move by Kenny. I'm wondering... I don't know. I mean, would he try to play the game of side-drafting Baker away from Josh towards the end of this and basically give it to Josh? Baker might take the run. He's not going to. He's going to stay behind Josh. Okay, so when you start thinking about it this way, that makes this race a whole lot more interesting. Because what will Kenny do? Obviously nothing dirty, per se, but he's in a position to get Baker out of Josh's way here if he wants. Simply by going up and side drafting him. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. I will give credit, by the way, to the group, this group right here, John Ward, Matt Lee, and what was Brian Hennings as well, who's now a lap down. So I think Hennings' efforts tonight will be unfortunately over. But their group held sufficient time against the group of 5. They only lost about half a second throughout that entire cycle. So, honestly, considering the disadvantage they had, they did a good job keeping up as best as they could. And now they're only, again, 2.7 seconds back. Obviously need something to happen up front if they want a chance, but... Yeah, Buddy Waters in chat saying mind games. That's exactly what this is. That is what all of money racing is. That's what it is in NASCAR, real-life NASCAR, when it comes to super speedway racing. It's mind games. It's chess, not checkers. That is the winning combination when you come to a super speedway. And that's what we very well could see unfold in front of us when we come to 4 laps to go here. At least we know who the top 3 finishers of tonight's race will be. At least you would imagine. The 3 people we will be interviewing tonight, barring any crazy whatever. Coming to 3 to go this time. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for it to happen. I feel like Josh needs to make a move before Baker does. I really, that's the only thing. If Baker makes a move on Josh might as well call it a wrap. If Baker goes up, tries to take that right rear, it's going to be difficult to try and recover from that, considering how little time we have left. We're still just single file for now. Coming to 2 to go. And I'm watching Kenny back there. I'm watching the 03. I'm wondering what he's going to do here. That's truly what I'm wondering. It's all revolving around that 3rd, 4th, 5th spot in this line. Guess we're just going to have to continue to wait and find out. 2 laps to go at Talladega. Baker... Wyatt dropping back. Okay, so here comes some gamesmanship. Wyatt pulling out a line, and he's going to file in behind Baker, and Kenny hooked him. Trying to avoid that from happening. Brian Hennings is going to go a lap down here. And now Josh is shoving Nathan as hard as possible. Look at that. What a push from Josh McCullough into turn 3. Hennings drops in line. I'm wondering if he's going to play a factor in this. I'm not sure. But now this spells even worse news for Josh McCullough, because here comes Baker and Gray with a massive run. Baker to the outside. Josh trying to block. Doesn't do it good enough. Gray's going to go with him. Still trying to side draft. Here comes Kenny to try and push. Nathan's not going to have an opportunity to get up, so it's going to come down to Wyatt Gray and Kenny McCullough. Who's going to give a better push? They're going to go down to the bottom. They're going to have a run right here. They will have a run on Matt Baker and Wyatt Gray. What will they do with this run? The leader's trying to show up right here. They're thinking, oh, Josh to the outside of Gray. Baker going to block. Josh hooked him. He hooks Matthew Baker. He saves it. Kenny McCullough will be with him, and Josh McCullough is going to win this race. Joshua McCullough is going to win this race and will be the champion of the first season of Friday Night Rush Hour. Joshua McCullough across the line, the winner of tonight's race. Now, I'm saying that not as excitedly, because I don't know what sort of calls will be made on what we just saw. I don't know. We're going to have to take a look at it real quick, but Joshua McCullough, as of now, will be the champion of Friday Night Rush Hour. What a save by Matthew Baker, by the way. You don't do that in a next-gen car, and he managed to save that. What a save to come home in second place tonight in the race and in the championship. But let's back this up and see. We're gonna have to see. I just am curious what we're gonna see here. At first, it was like, what a move by Josh. But then he ends up hooking him, and it looked so tight. It's probably going to be hard to see, but him and Kenny make the move to the top. Baker went a little too high, and then Josh, I mean, he did just kind of drive into him, but it's the last lap for a championship. Like, you're not lifting in that scenario. I don't know. I don't know. I truly don't know. This is why I do not do RC. I am in the booth for a reason. It's a good move by Josh. It truly is a good move by Josh, because it separated Baker and Gray. But you have the issue of that. But then again, I don't know if an EOL would be administered, because Baker didn't actually crash. He did not actually crash in this scenario. Which usually those are for people that either get wrecked out of a money spot or something happens to them to be out of a money spot. Well, that didn't happen. What a save. Hold on. We need to go back and look at Baker's onboard for that. What an incredible save by the 5. I guess he had a little help from Josh flipping that thing back around, maybe a little netcode at play in that as well, but wow. Well, there we go. I mean, that's how the first season of Friday Night Rush Hour will conclude. So let's pull up the final results of tonight's race. Joshua McCullough, the winner. Matthew Baker in second. Nathan Harper third. Those will be your podium finishers. We'll be talking to them soon. John Ward finishes fourth. Matt Lee in fifth. Kenny McCullough sixth. The first car a lap down in this race. So only 5 cars in this race finished on the lead lap. But I'm just throwing that out there. Kenny McCullough finishes sixth. Wyatt Gray seventh. Sean Corbett eighth. Brian Hennings, a tough break for him, will finish ninth. Ambrose Knable 10th. James Waring 11th. Terry Wilson 12th. Michael Wingo 13th. And Travis Jones will finish in the 14th position here tonight. So we are going to go ahead and grab your top 3 finishers for interviews, and we will be right back from Talladega. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, the conclusion of Season 1 of Friday Night Rush Hour. We're going to bring up tonight's champion, Joshua McCullough, and get a word with him real quick. Josh McCullough, Landon in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Gotcha.
So, a great race ran by you. You know, it was a light field. We expected it to string out a little bit, and when that happens, it's all up to you and your pit stops, and you executed them perfectly tonight. Little bit of a not to say controversy, but a little contact between you and your contender Matt Baker in turn 3. Before we get into that, walk us through the whole first part of your race up to that point and how you executed so well.
I was kind of worried on pit stops. There was a couple times where I thought I wasn't going to stay with the pack, and sucks my dad got knocked out of the money. He had a bad pit stop. He couldn't come out with us. I tried to check up the field to get him back in the draft, but Matt Lee wasn't letting me do that at all. But yeah, I had to end Baker through a block. I didn't want to wreck him. I had the spot, and good thing we didn't all wreck.
Yeah, that was a strange look at first, and obviously something that you would wonder if race control would take a look at. But at the end of the day, Matt didn't wreck. Baker did not crash, so no EOL would be administered, and you are indeed the champion. So how do you feel as the champion of this new first season of this new league?
I wasn't really worried about winning the championship, but I had the shot, so I took it. And I knew Baker was going to be aggressive and try to get it too, and he almost got the job done.
He did have a lot of help out there tonight as well. Numbers were on his side, but the law of numbers actually turned out to not be true here tonight, and you win the championship. Go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
I want to thank John Ward for putting these races on, and I want to thank McCullough Motorsports, and that's it.
There we go. That is tonight's champion, the driver of the number 8, Josh McCullough from McCullough Motorsports. Congrats again. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
Next up, we will have Matthew Baker, who might have a different take on what just happened on the last lap of the race. Matt Baker, Landon in the booth. Do you have a copy?
What up?
So, a great race ran by you. You had a lot of teammates out there with you tonight to try and help you win this race, especially against the other championship drivers in this. Walk us through your race and what happened on the last lap.
Yeah, I knew through the tri-oval, looking back at it, I should have probably pushed Josh there to the last lap because I think being second in line is the easy catbird seat. But I knew Wyatt behind me wasn't going to lift. And once we tandemed, I thought maybe Harper being on the bottom was going to keep us away, but it didn't work out. Josh got back in the draft with Wyatt. Kenny had a good push to him. And, I went up for the block. As soon as I saw Josh pull high, I waited till about half the car length. And whenever I pulled up, I knew I pulled up too high immediately, so I started hooking the wheel back to the right, and it started to get loose under me, and Josh had no reason to lift there. I mean, he drifts up with me and then tries to cut it to the inside, but it's just not enough time for him to get all the way there, and it gets me a little bit loose. But that's totally on me there going for the block. I think either way, I'm finishing second there if I block or I don't, because I'm going to lose Wyatt off my bumper. So I don't know. There's not much I think I could have done differently there, and it was a great positioning by Josh there at the end and having his dad behind him, and we worked together well there on the pit stops. I said I wasn't going to do anything too stupid to take him out of the money, and once I made that block and I knew it was a halfway block, I started hooking the wheel to the right because he definitely deserved to get that championship. It's only a $5 difference, so I wasn't too mad about it.
Yeah, it's a good result for you here tonight. But at the end of the day, you want to be a champion, and you want to have those bragging rights, I should say, that come along with it. But as good of a result as it is, there's got to be a little disappointment in there, considering how well of a race you ran here tonight. I mean, I know we only had 14 cars, but for it to be such a breakaway as it was tonight, you executed every pit stop to the best of your ability. So did Wyatt Gray, and until Wyatt fell with some issues, and then there's a few others. I'm trying to remember them. You'd think I would in a 14-car race, but y'all are up front. For this whole race, you have to execute pit stops properly, especially in a race like this, because it's such a light field and the way the next-gen cars race, you have to execute that. Did you go into this expecting complete and proper execution by you and your teammates tonight, or was there any part of you worried oh, I might screw this up and that'll cost me my chance?
I don't harp on the other teammates making mistakes or not. That's on them. But for me, for sure, last week in the next gen, I made a couple mistakes. This week in the next gen, made a couple mistakes in the RMR race. So I think it took it a little more conservative this time, and I was able to get in and out of my pit box. And I know I'm a good enough pusher that if there's a little bit of a gap, I can catch back up there on pit exit. But just like you said, you got to hit your marks with this car to make pit stops even work. So I'm glad I was able to make it work and take home a P2, and for Josh to get the championship, pretty sick. But yeah, that's been the MO for me for these series races. R&R, I'm probably going to take second behind Garrett. I have a shot next week. RMR, I've taken second 3 times. I've only had the championship once, but second 3 other times, and second place in Dega Pros. So it's I'm always playing fiddle to the number one man. But the thing is you finish in the money. That's a win. That's all we're trying to do out here is finish in the money. I'm about getting wins. I like getting wins, but if you finish in the money, I count it as a win in my book.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good mentality to have, especially in money racing. Go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
Yeah, just thanks to Coasting Thunder, MBG Motorsports, Baker & Son Construction, PGR eSports, SummerSlam 49 coming out. Information going to be coming out soon. Thanks to Mom and Grandma watching on the broadcast, family back home, wife for letting me do this, you for putting on the broadcast, Ward for putting on the series. I know we had a couple of delays, but glad we can get the championship in. And it could be a green flag race, at 14 cars, whatever. It was still great racing. Good pit stop execution, a little bit different than what we're used to seeing on the broadcast. It'll be nice, refreshing to go back and watch.
Yeah, 100%. Well, congrats on your second in the championship and in the race here tonight. Thanks for talking to us.
Thanks, brother.
Next up, we have Matthew Baker's teammate, Nathan Harper. We'll drag him up really quickly. Nathan Harper, landed in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
So, a very good race ran by you and Matt and Josh, a few guys right there that executed every pit stop properly and ended up with a shot at it towards the end. What was your expectation here tonight? I mean, obviously you have your teammate, Matt Baker. He's the one that is vying for the championship. And at the end of the day, it was 3 of y'all versus 2 of the McCulloughs. And, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but the McCulloughs won, and the power and numbers rule was at y'all's advantage, and it didn't work out. What really happened there in the efforts in those last few laps of trying to get Baker up there?
Well, that last pit stop, something happened, and that Baker was like third in line, I think. And they planned it out. They're like, okay, Wyatt was going to get on him and push him ahead, and I was going to be fine. I didn't care. I didn't want to do anything stupid, so he pushed him ahead, and then it was looking good. And then when Josh made the move to the outside, he just misjudged the block a bit and nearly freaking left-reared himself. But, I mean, I wasn't going to do anything stupid, and, yeah, I mean, it just bad block. Nothing you can really do.
Yeah, well, walk us through your race before we go any further with that. You ran a terrific race. You were up there towards the end. You end up with a podium finish and another cash spot. You've been on such a tear recently. Walk us through your personal race throughout this.
Yeah, I mean, I was once we got to that last pit stop and broke away from everybody, it was a top 4 lock, and I was just content. I weren't going to do anything stupid. It was top 4 payout, all the same. I already forget how much we got, but it was all the same. I was like, yeah, there's no need to do anything dumb. I mean, if I finish 4th, 3rd, I don't care. And we were just breaking away from the pack, and that's all there really was to it. Nothing much.
Yeah, no, it was I think that kind of sums up what the race was. Kind of throughout it, not really that much happening, but that's just the nature of this car and the nature of the drivers, where the cream kind of rises to the top in these things. Well, go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
Well, shout out to Baker. Unfortunately, he did not win the title, but he still goes home with a bunch of money. Shout out to Wyatt for working with us, and for everybody who showed up. It weren't too many people that showed up, but hey, I mean, it's better than none. So, and shout out to Ward for putting this on for us.
Yeah, 100%.
And for you putting this on for us to broadcast.
Thank you very much. Well,
You're
that
welcome.
is the word from our 3rd place finisher, Nathan Harper, here tonight. Thanks for talking to us. Congrats.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So there we go. Your champion of Friday Night Rush Hour will be Joshua McCullough, with Matthew Baker in tow. John Ward finishing 3rd in the championship, 4th in the race tonight, and a tough break for Brian Hennings to the end of this race. Ends up 2 laps down in 9th position of our championship contenders. Well, we appreciate all of you tuning in to this race here tonight. I know it wasn't one of the best races we've ever seen, but at the end of the day, you're going to have that sometimes. Sometimes you're going to have complete wreck fest, and sometimes you're going to have green to white, or checkered, I should say. So we appreciate everyone out there for tuning in, but the night is not over. Friday night, you know what that means, SSK. Now, move over, I believe, in about 5 minutes to Jimmy Crow's race for the first race of Super Speedway Kings tonight that will be broadcasted by Michael Triscaro and probably myself. I'm thinking about hopping up there with him and doing it with him as well. Tune in for that. I'm sure it's going to be another stacked field and a thrilling race to watch. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you in just a few minutes.